IOUs for sure, and we're very different.
You got to explain what IOUs.
I'm sorry, investor-owned utility like Pacific Gas Electric, San Diego Gas Electric, and Southern California Edison, our neighbor. So we're very different in the sense that we're not investor-based, we're regulator-based. Angelino owns us. You have a voice, you always have a voice. And that's all part of 100% Renewable Energy Advisory Group. You have a seat. So the reason why we're different because, first of all, we don't need to pay investors profits. We don't need to have profits. We don't have bonuses. All the other IOUs have it. So that money we have reinvested back in the city. I'm sure all of you know that. And another reason we're different because turning a ship depends on the size of it. We are a big ship. We have invested over 6,000 miles of transmission in the past 30, 40 years. And some of those transmissions today were truly has realized the potential. Because back in the days, the 70s and 60s, when we're building transmission, nobody else is doing it. And we essentially bought early. It's kind of buying a house 30 years ago versus today. Very same concept. These transmission, we go Pacific Northwest all the way to the state of Washington. We had transmission go all the way to Oregon Valley. We had transmission line going all the way to Utah. We had transmission going to Arizona. Those days when we first built them, because we outgrew the little 500 square mile service territory versus 50,000 square miles of Edison, we outgrew ourselves. We can't serve the state of Los Angeles with the electricity that we need to generate for the whole entire grid. And our model has always been reliability. What is reliability? It's really dependability plus whenever you don't need it, we have it. That's reliability. So when you flip the switch, that dependability depend on it, there it is. But when you flip that switch, it doesn't come on. It's both dependability is gone and reliability is gone. So we focus on that very heavily. Now, fast forward, since the state passed a law of renewable energy requirements and also solar incentive programs, I just want to I want the engine to feel proud of us because we're one of the first ones that offer solar incentive program in the state of Los Angeles. Well, the whole state, one of the first, and we're one of the last. We started the program December 31st, 2018. No other IOUs, no other investor-owned, and most of the POUs have stopped giving us solar incentive programs. In fact, we increased for the last few years for nonprofits, for governmental agencies, to increase their solar so they can adopt more solar as the price is coming down over 80% within that 10-year period. So solar has continued to increase in price. So affordability is tremendous. When I first started looking at solar for my own home, it was over $23,000 for the system. Same system today, less than 8. So there's a significant.
And when was that? When were you looking?
Over a decade.
Okay.
Over a decade. So when the solar incentive first started, that's when I first started.
Okay.
So in other words, solar has come down in price, batteries coming down even faster. Okay, so in other words, battery is great. I think the technology is still evolving. We have seen some significant hazards came out of batteries recently, especially EPS. Arizona Public Service recently had 2 firefighters that were injured due to battery fires and battery explosions. But those are all the things that are going to work out. Just like Fort Pintos, I remember Fort Pintos.
You wanting us to date ourselves?
I'm dating myself, sorry.
Not going to remember. How about all?
So essentially, those hazards, the automobile industry has taken care of. Tesla will take care of the problems. So will the battery industry. In fact, so much so that the Korean government had recently stopped both Samsung and LG, the 2 largest battery manufacturers in the world, stopped shipping batteries outside the country for utility scale because they had 21 fires recently. In Korea, these are utility scale, not your Samsung phone batteries, not your, not the small one. These are utility. The government said, you know what, we're not going to damage our reputation, the country's reputation. So they stopped them from shipping. So that's going to work itself out. But what I'm trying to get at is, we need to be proud of it because the Department of Water and Power has gone from essentially no megawatt, almost zero of solar on residential roofs, just a little bit over a decade ago, to over 350 megawatts. Now, what is that 350 megawatts? Residential and also commercial. In basin, I'm talking about within us 50 square miles of LA, 500 square miles of Los Angeles. That we have a solar utility scale solar farm in the Mojave Desert that's 250 megawatts. It's 100 less than what we have in the city today. that took 2,400 acres of land to build. So to get 350 megawatts of solar in LA, that will take over 3,500 acres of rooftop. And we have one of the largest solar installations in the world, and only recently beat by Apple's headquarters at Loma. They built that up there in the San Francisco area. We have a facility in the harbor area, in the San Pedro area, that is essentially a giant warehouse. It's all contiguous, one large facility. It's 50 megawatts. It's huge. The typical home is 3 kW, 3 kilowatts to 5 kilowatts. This is 15 megawatts. So you're talking about 50 times larger. And it's the biggest in the world. We should be proud of that. And also another thing is we've been ranked #1 solar city. More solar rooftops and solar installation in the city itself for the past 4 out of 5 years. Last 2 years, and 2 years before, we were only beat by San Diego by 1 year because I think their rates just skyrocketed. Their rates over 30% of higher hours. Over 30%, you can check it out. Theirs is over 22 cents, 22.5 cents a kilowatt hour, which means it goes down to what you're saying. It's about economics. So when people and when Angelenos see that our rates are not as high, there may not be that incentive to build solar. But when I walk over here, I see this beautiful campus. It's got some roofs. I see no solar out there. I go, what's wrong with this picture? They got no tree, no shade, so they have plenty of solar potential. But why isn't there solar? So there's a lot of workforce. There's definitely a lot of work. And then we just finished our 150 megawatts of feeding tariff program, meaning that we actually pay the customer to put solar on their roof, and we give them a rate. Right now it's 14.5 cents a kilowatt, which is very generous. I think we're one of the most generous feeding tariff programs in the country at 14.5 cents. And USC knows about that. Somebody like Sunrun will talk to USC, we can go talk to them.
We were scoping it out earlier.
Yeah, we're looking at this right now. So it is something that can happen. This should be all over this cover with panels. And
So let me, go ahead.
yeah. So again, we reduced our GHG 47% in 2016, which is 14 years ahead of state's 2030 goal. And if you look at emissions, I know a lot of people talk about emissions. Most toxic emissions, NOx. Everybody knows that causes cancer, that causes respiratory issues. We are literally less than 1%. The Department of Water Power. Rest of it is transportation, petroleum, I'll say it first. Auto refineries. I mean, you talk about those industries are polluting more NOx than less than 1% is LAPD. So we have improved so much since the 70s and 80s and even the 90s.
So I think what I'm hearing you say is that we're not giving, you've been doing a lot, and we don't tend to give you enough credit.
You're not
Is that
giving
fair to
all
say?
of credit. She has done a lot for us. She essentially cut our coal by 2025, and we're going to reduce another about almost 40% of GHG by 2025.
But so let's talk about, part of my question was about Garcetti's timeline, which is not the same as Google AutoWatch's timeline. It is not the same as the NCSA's timeline. So, and I imagine the Sustainability Office did not confer with the NCSA before putting out refreshing their plan. But I imagine they did confer with you folks. So and I want to get to timeline in a second, but it seems to me, I'm hearing more and more that we've got some really, really exciting technology breakthroughs.
Can I respond to the other two questions?
That
you and Eric.
I'm sorry, I want to go to Louis and actually Nathan and then you, sorry. But so if you can say, briefly talk about kind of the gap and how we need it, and then we'll hear from Nathan. And then.
So again, I'm going to take the last time I came here, the NCSA, I believe, was 2016. I was trying to remember. It was on the west side. And when I presented there, we didn't have the data. Now we have a lot more data. And a lot of things happened since 2016. In 2017, the council essentially closed in March and September with an amendment. Tell us what it takes to go 100%. Investigate. And in fact, we only work with DOE. Well, DOE, it's got hundreds of labs. So we choose one that has the most progressive data. Studies for Hawaii, they done study for Canada, they done study for Mexico, and they done the whole entire East Coast. I go, why did you guys do the West Coast? Well, we're going to ask you to do it. But they didn't do the granularity study. I'm sorry, I'm talking about NREL, National Renewable Energy Lab. they didn't do a study for the West Coast, and they haven't done it for any down granularity of customers. They've gone into at the level of transmission levels, very high voltage, very high level. So they said, yeah, we can actually work with you guys. So we partnered with them in 2017, the late 2017. So the whole entire year, 6 meetings after with the advisory committee, and we came up with scenarios. Obviously, the scenario did not include 2030, but again, there's a lot of reasons why. Because the council actually introduced a motion to look at 2030. So our strategic long-term resource plan actually started to look at 2030. What would it take to get to 100%? And when I say 100%, our definition was by the state, obviously. So 2045, we're looking at 2030, 60%, and that's RPS eligible. RPS eligible, I'm sure all of you understand, is very strict.
What does RPS stand for?
Renewable Portfolio Standard, and it does not include nuclear, it does not include large hydro, it includes small hydro, it does not include gas. So it only includes wind, solar, geothermal, and it does include biomethane, which is renewable gas, and so forth. And solar, obviously. But so 60% of it needs to be RPS eligible by 2030. That's the state mandate. And by 60%, 61% on to 100% is zero carbon, which is still not defined. So some people say include large hydro, some people say include nuclear. We don't know that yet. So again, that we'll have to get there. I can comfortably say that we'll get to 60% way before 2030.
So I think what I'm hearing, I'm going to move on to Nathan, but I know Ara is really wanting to say it. So.
No, please. Go on. I think that you're just taking these questions and they're taking us a little bit on a ramble. And I would love to just really get the bigger picture beyond what maybe two kind of very strong points are showing here, but I think we should hear from okay. From
So let me ask, because
I think you're going to have some good answers to this.
Okay, so I think what I'm hearing from Louis is that you folks try to meet the mandates that are given to you.
Yes.
And I think we think that isn't good enough. I think that's kind of where it is. Nathan, and I'm so excited to hear your CEO talk about the distributed solar and battery storage and stuff. So let's kind of get into some of that, and then we'll hear from.
Sure. Great. So just to say a few words about myself, Nathan Wyeth, I'm the Director of Energy Services Partnerships at Sunrun. And I live in Oakland. We're headquartered in the Bay Area, but my grandparents grew up in Venice and they lived in Los Angeles pretty much their whole life. So I remember coming here to visit them in Culver City, and so it's really special for me to get to be engaging at this grassroots level, hearing what you're passionate about, and to get to talk about these issues. So I'm really glad to be here today. Sunrun is the nation's largest residential solar provider, and more recently we've begun doing a lot of new work with batteries. So I'll talk about that. But when Lynn Jurich, our CEO and her co-founder at Venster, founded Sunrun in 2007, residential solar was like a niche thing. It was a hippie fad. And today, as of last week, 2 million homes across the U.S. have home solar. So there's 80 million homes, so we have a long way to go, but 2 million is nothing to, it's a huge, it's gigawatts and gigawatts of solar. And Sunrun has about 250,000 customers, so about 1 in 10 of those solar homes have been installed and financed by Sunrun. So for 10, 12 years, we've been laser focused on how to make going solar simple and easy and accessible and make it possible for homeowners to go solar with zero down and then reap the benefits of clean energy. Having gotten to where we are now, we've been zooming out and saying it's not just enough to think about the individual home. When we can add batteries and we can network all of these solar systems, let's think about how they can add up to be more than the sum of their parts and a bigger piece of the puzzle. And that brings us to the question we're talking about here with Los Angeles. I can honestly say I think there's very few, if any, places across the entire country tackling the question of 100% clean energy in a more head-on, direct way than Los Angeles. And it's going to be it's hard. It's not going to be easy. And I think so. The leadership here has been courageous, from the mayor from the city council to the utility, and it's going to take all sorts of solutions. And Lewis has been, I've seen him present on all the different things they're considering. So all the way from energy storage at Hoover Dam, massive projects, down to, we think, we need to look at all the solutions. That includes down to these 3 kilowatt home solar systems. So let me just take you quickly through what we proposed recently. And we wrote a report that's intended to be accessible for kind of a broad audience, anyone who's interested in reading about it.
I understood some of it.
We worked hard to try and take out the jargon. But I'll boil it down to 3 main points. First, Los Angeles does have an enormous amount of solar, but it's a really big city. And so on a percentage basis, then in the residential sector, there's actually a smaller percentage of Los Angeles residents have gone solar than in other parts of California. So it's around 2 or 3%, whereas in the other utility territories, it's kind of between 8 and 12%. So the first thing we want to make sure as part of the solution is to keep driving this growth that we've seen in Los Angeles. So if we can continue the trajectory that rooftop solar has been on, for the next 12 years, we can reach the same level as across California. And so that seems like it should be achievable with the kind of willpower and momentum that is behind 100% clean energy.
Sorry, can you say again what should be achievable?
So in this report, we analyzed that if we just kind of kept up the same momentum, we'd get to around 10 or 12% of residential meters having solar. So that includes both single-family homes and multi-family homes. So and if we do that, then we'll have hundreds of megawatts more solar, and it will allow DWP to raise its targets for local solar. So that's part one. Second, we were chatting beforehand, and Lewis said what we proposed was bold, and I took that as a compliment that that's what we're aiming to do. So it's great to be sitting here getting to talk about this with Lewis. The second part, and I'll come back to that point about boldness, is that as we install solar, we should be thinking about adding batteries. And we could take some time to just talk about batteries specifically, but essentially when you add a battery to a solar system, the technology is getting better and better. It's the same as in your laptop or in a car, in an electric vehicle. It's like a picture of a 3-foot by 4-foot kind of rectangular box that goes in next to your utility meter, and that can store your solar power. And then you get solar power on demand, 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. And it's not just solar on demand for you, it can also be for the utility when the utility needs it. So we think setting a target to drive up the rate of adoption of batteries can help create a more valuable solar resource. So we targeted in this report, we said by 2024 we should aim for like 80% of all the solar we installed to have a battery. And then at the same conference, at the LABC conference, David Wright, the general manager of DWP, said he thinks every new solar installation in LA going forward should have a battery. So it's bold and we like it, and we would be thrilled to support that. So that's part 2. And then part 3 is once you have all of these small scale resources all across the grid, then it's time to think about how to network them together to be what we call, and the industry is calling, a virtual power plant. And what that can look like is that, the grid operators at DWP are looking at a really complex situation every day. Every day the electricity demand is different, it's changing minute to minute, and they're managing across a lot of different resources. They do not want to think about 100,000 individual home solar systems, but Sunrun and other companies that do similar work can kind of bundle that together so there's one button to push, and then that sends a signal to us, and we can send a signal to each of the batteries. And maybe in one part of the city, they need energy from the batteries at 5 p.m. and maybe to cover the time when there's the peak demand. and then in another part of the city, maybe it's at 7 p.m. And so we can make that simple, so it can be integrated into the overall grid.
So let me make sure I understood this. Are you saying that the initial goal is just to get this idea of distributed solar so that people have the solar, I mean, the energy is coming from the sky to their roof and then is stored in their batteries so they can have power throughout the day. And that ultimately you want these to get connected so that if somebody else over here needs more power, they can be using my power. Is that right?
Right. So at the macro scale, at the scale of the whole system, that's what the power plants, virtual or centralized, are doing, is responding to the need for different amounts of power during the day.
Right.
And so solar with a battery can serve the need for peak capacity in the evening, even when the sun isn't shining.
So, go ahead.
And I'll just wrap up by saying, we think when you look at the solar potential and the potential to add batteries, that altogether by 2030 you could have about 300 megawatts of batteries to be available in the evening when electricity demand is the highest, and we need to, and that is how we can sort of replace some of the capacity of the gas plants that will be retired by that time.
And how much of the capacity would that, like what percent? I don't know how to ask this question because I don't understand the industry.
How much is 300 megawatts is the percentage of the capacity that
Yes,
the
sure.
has
That
to
works.
provide energy?
Like, yeah. So like, what is that?
So I'll answer that question if you don't mind. So right now we have over 9,000 megawatts of capacity. It's 9,000. And 6502 is our peak load, meaning the supply. The electricity is essentially supply and demand. We demand every supply. So back in August 31st, 2017, our peak load in the history of the Department of Water and City of Los Angeles was 6,502 megawatts. So in order to serve everybody at that moment, that 1 hour that day, we need to have that capacity to serve the reliability. But because we're at 9,000 megawatts, doesn't mean that we have that much reserves per se, or backup or spare tire, however you want to call it. Not all 9,000 are available because of transmission issues, because of distribution issues, because of some of the solar were not available, some of the wind were not available, so the actual capacity we can depend on without dependable capacity was actually much less, closer to 7,000 than 9,000. So there's a lot of intricacy on balancing the grid, I call it. Essentially, it's like essentially you'll see a circuit of people balancing things with a place spinning. That's what our operators do 24/7, 365 in a control center. They have to balance the electricity.
Luis, how much megawatts do we need to replace with the three gas plants that we just retired?
1,661.
So just keep that in mind.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you for asking that. Okay, I think you have some things you wanted to say, and I had a couple, and it might or might not dovetail with what I was thinking I wanted to ask you, which is you've had a really interesting perspective, kind of like from being on the outside to becoming sort of on the inside. And now you're kind of on the outside. So I'm wondering.
She's always on.
I know, but we all always in the inside. I'm glad you bring that point up because when I first got appointed 2 years ago as a commissioner for the WP, some staff used to come up to me and say, how does it feel now that you're in the inside? Literally, with this tone, with this exact tone. Like, what does it feel like? And I will always say, this is our utility, so in a way, we're always inside, right? And you guys are always outside. So I think that the goal of getting LA to 100% renewables, whether it's in 2030, 2045, or whatever, it's not happening today because of lack of leadership. Not just from elected officials, not just from DWP, but from all of us. I have been involved in environmental justice, environment, all things green, eco, whatever name you want to give it, for the past 10 years in this city. This is the first time I see some of you. So this question that you're asking, or this question that we're all wondering, why is LA not going faster? Why is it we're not doing it tomorrow? We should be asking that also to ourselves. Because I found myself being a commissioner, sitting in that boardroom, really speaking truth about a lot of things that are important to all of us, not just us, the whole world. And I was there sitting by myself. And I didn't see a lot of these beautiful faces that I see here today. So let's remember that what's not happening today, it's not because Jasmine is not working hard on it, or because Luis is not making it happen, or because we don't have the technology that Sunrise is obviously already have and proposing. It's because we have not yet to wake up and show up and demand for what was ours, what we deserve to have. So to me, this was always the kind of the sticky point with the inside and the outside, and especially with the opportunity that we have with DWP, that is a utility that belongs to all of us, that is a public utility. That you show up there on Tuesday, somebody's listening. And not just the 5 board members and the staff that sit there and all of the rest of the staff that you get to meet in the boardroom and all. You get to be on TV, Channel 35.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
But I might say you may be representing a new phase in the board. But 5 years ago, forget it, Jack. I was there.
And I'm glad you bring that up. Because I sat there with Jasmine 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 7 years ago, 3 years ago, and we were the only people sometimes speaking about these issues. This has to change. We need to find a new way to be engaged. Now, the other issue that I want to talk about, included on my little rant about leadership, is on my little moment about leadership, is that as long as we have elected officials running this city, whether it's the mayor, the city council member, whether it's neighborhood council members, that are not 100% on board with a 100% renewable future, we're going to have these conversations forever. The 12-year mark of the report that the, remember the IPCC. There you go. That in 12 years, we're going to be talking about, 12 years ago, we talked about this report, and we're still talking about it, and the world is like ending. Because as long as we're not all in on this, we're not going to be able to turn the tide, because it's that big and it's that like massive. I mean, we not only need DWP, we need the firefighters. We need also other city agencies. Planning. When I was a commissioner, I went out of my way to meet with so many of the other commissioners to educate them about DWP. A lot of them didn't know. A lot of people think, like a lot of you, that DWP is this entity that is out there and it's so powerful and it shines and like you can see it almost. But it's not like that. It's ours. So I went to the Affordable Housing Commission. I spoke to I went to public comment, commission, and I asked them, please get involved, because we need affordable housing to also have all those solar. They deserve it more than anyone. I went to speak to planning. I said, would you create a sustainability or green, whatever you want to call it, would you create some sort of questions when development come, you can ask them. Do you have EV charging station that you can offer in your development? Do you have a, can your building be EV ready? A lot of these developers are getting a lot of benefits from saying that they're going to be more sustainable when they're really not. I see a lot of heads shaking because you know it's true.
This is actually what I want our next meeting to be about, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
The lady wrote.
And wait. I'm not done.
Where's the rebuttal?
I'm like little run. I'm not done. And let me tell you, you are all neighborhood council folks, and I love you for that because it takes a lot of courage and a lot of time. I was a neighborhood council in Wilshire Center, Koreatown. Neighborhood council, that was my neighborhood council. I was the only Latina in the neighborhood council with a full Korean neighborhood board then. And I was the lead or the president of our land use committee. And you know, in my small and non-functional neighborhood council in those days, you know, we created all of these community benefits that we will ask developers when they used to come and ask us for a permit for a liquor store. We said, do you have bike lanes? Do you have, you know, can you accommodate the homeless? Can you have a line hotel? I remember so clearly it was being built in those days, so they came to talk to us. We asked them, can you make it more pedestrian friendly? Can you make more bike, places where people can park bikes? Can you have an EV infrastructure in the hotel? Can you make it so that part of your ethos is also sustainability? You can do all of that right now. This is not just up to DWP, it's really up to all of us. You know, and I have plenty to say about DWP, but you know, I want to be nice. So I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I want to hear from folks, but I actually do want to hear the parts that you want to say about you. So let me take a few questions from you or comments from you guys, and then I'm going to take over again.
She rose her hand 10 times.
Yeah, so let me just, so sorry, I want to make sure that we're, so Judith and Rhonda and Suzanne and Jocelyn, and then we're going to cut back for a moment and make sure we're focusing.
So I want to commend LADWP because the LA Convention Center has the largest solar array on any municipal building, and it's because of what they did. And a lot of people don't know about that. It's great about doing the residential solar and then making them distributed networks by connecting them, and we can do that with the Internet of Technology now. And actually, you guys need to also partner with companies that are doing this. I live in Orange County, and the Irvine Company has made their office buildings electric. They've electrified their buildings, and they're coined the term and trademarked it hybrid electric buildings, which have become basically power plants. They're fleets of hybrid electric buildings that they have solar on the roofs and Tesla batteries on the ground. And so Edison is in that area that they can tap in, and then Irvine Company can then sell the power back to Edison, you know, the peak demand or whatever to what they can't use. So it can be done, it is being done, it's phenomenal, you know, what's happening. So there's another partner for you guys, and that they are reducing, they can provide up to 10 megawatts of instantaneous load reduction for up to 4 hours. So when you're talking to a power company, that's important. My husband works for Edison, so I know. And the fact you can't just have like all these little distributed solar things and then try to tap in, because it's just not doable. It's enough. They're trying to, you know, make this grid renewable, and it's difficult. My husband's working on that. But when you can make it a network, and so you have these shopping centers literally that neighborhoods can tie into and stuff too, because you can make the shopping center the area then that is the host and all these areas, so all your little neighborhoods can become, you know, sources of power and everything. So
Are you talking about microgrids?
sorry?
Are you referring to microgrids?
Yeah, the
like that?
microgrids, yeah. And, you know, all the neighborhoods with the residential solar, but then all the buildings. And I've also read too, because I do a lot of research, but where the low-income neighborhoods now are becoming solar hotspots, because they're going out and giving them solar to put on their rooftops, and they're doing this.
Yeah, the community solar, which has a different menu of. Yeah, I want to mention something about what you said about the microgrids, because I'm a very big microgrid lover. Even though microgrids have a different definition, depending on who you talk to, so it can be a really wonderful thing and it can be not so wonderful in other places. But the pure idea of having a microgrid where you have a hub and you have an area that can kind of sustain itself with that grid is really good. I think the challenge with DWP, and this was my own challenge that I arrived to just being a commissioner and working closely with staff, was that we're asking a utility, not just DWP, any utility, when we're asking them to change their business models.
Yes.
Because I am all in with the energy democracy. I am, in fact, believe that if you have a rooftop in your home or in your business or on top of your car or wherever you have it, and you produce energy and you store in it, and if you're gonna give it back to the utility, you should be making money out of that. That's what I believe, personally.
Yeah, they're doing it with wind.
Feed-in tariffs.
Feed and turf. That is more pure, definition in its own way, or no, it's not feed and turf, it's the, it's something else, no, it's a virtual net metering, it's virtual net metering. But then let's think about this. We have a centralized grid, historically, that has been fed by coal, by gas, right? That we have big, dirty gas plants or coal plants somewhere, and they bring energy. And now we're inventing the world. We're like imagining the world in a different way. When these gas plants are no longer serving us, but in a way, all of us are serving us, are serving each other. So it's decentralizing. And for me, my lesson with DWP wasn't that they didn't want to do it. In a lot of ways, it's very uncertain. It requires them to have a different business model, and it requires our grid to be differently. So for example, the fact that we still plan on our load, and we still sending people out to homes, with pen and paper to figure out your meter. We don't have data moment to moment that can give us and say, actually, this is not a prediction, or this is not what happened. This is what's happening right here, right now. So we don't have a lot of the, I call it smart meter, but I know it's a better term, a general term for it.
I didn't mean to take you down that road because that's like the future, but that's
It's definitely.
Yeah.
But I did have it in my talking points about the realities of our grid and how we plan for fossil fuels, and unless again we take that piece, it's just going to be really hard for us to get there and to get on the timeline that we all wish to see. I mean, for me, it's like, and we'll get there tomorrow.
And the thing about attendance on those meetings, because you own them, and this is what I tell people about the wastewater, is you own them. Help them understand what, can be changed and everything too. And even with like the Edison or whatever, you're paying the rates and they have to go for a rate case every year too. So, you're basically a shareholder if you're buying into power.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, Rhonda. Thank you, Rhonda, for correcting me. And then-
So my question is, what is the outreach right now? What is the program to reach homeowners, those that actually can put it on their roofs? What is happening now? What conceivably could we do? Could we have a group of young people going door to door to the homes that are the good candidates? Because I know not everybody can put them up. Like, have you envisioned at all what we could actually do? Because I have solar panels, but I don't get any outreach. And the main thing that I hear from like the families at my school, so-and-so grandma did it and their bill didn't go down. It's primarily economic concerns. They're mostly not, those of us that really care maybe have done it if we're able to do it financially. So what is currently happening? What could we do to reach the greatest number of people that we all, because we all have our arms everywhere in the community, have you thought about this?
Okay, and I want to supplement your question because that was actually a question of mine. I just want to add to it a little bit. For you folks, what can neighborhood councils do? Because Jasmine, you were out and said something that got me thinking. A few years ago, when I was much more naive than I am now, I thought, well, we'll work with the city and we'll work with the Department of Water and Power and we'll help them. And what I feel like it is instead pushing you guys. And what I was saying about like we have to be, I actually sort of feel like we have done the work of electing people, and I feel like our elected leaders are failing us because we have to do this, and you guys are not moving quickly enough.
Yeah.
So how can we help you help us? And I guess that question you wanted to ask.
Yeah, I gotta say something about this.
Fair enough.
Measure EE. Okay, I'm a teacher.
Okay, but we're going to
I
say
know
what
this
this.
has to do with the key issue.
All right.
People do not, you say it's our elected leaders?
Yes.
Then listen to what your neighbors and friends, not in our silo, how they feel about this.
Yeah.
They are not supportive, and we boot them out. We try to tax gasoline, we boot them out. I think EE may not pass. And the president of my PTO, our parent-teacher organization, went on Facebook saying, I don't want to pay another $500 for the teachers. And then the vice president said, I don't want to either. We had this huge controversy. I think we're overestimating the support of the public and how elected officials
Okay,
they are
that's
going to
helpful.
lose their offices.
Thank you. Lynn, I'll put you on the list. Go ahead. You guys, and whoever, I mean, that was huge, but if you can each respond briefly to that, that would be great.
I want to respond, and it's not going to be as vanilla as maybe as Luis is going to respond. I think it's going to have the actual, like, we have an office and all that good stuff. I want to just bring a little bit of a story that something that happened to me as I was a commissioner. I promised to be a very accessible commissioner. I promised to be out there. I promised to, to make known what was happening at DWP, good, bad, and ugly. And I met a lot of teachers. I met a lot of college students that said to me, I'm ready to have my whole class come and volunteer for you or intern with you. You're an organizer. You understand how this works. Can we take the students door to door to talk about solar for renters or community solar or anything related to the department? For me to go back to DWP and say, oh my God, I have like 100 students and we can do this amazing thing. We can cover all South LA, we can do Canvas Day. And for our legal department to come back and say, no, you can't do that. And I said, why? Because we have a labor agreement. No. And if you do that, you will be in violation of our labor agreement. And labor will come back to us and say, well, you're taking a job, a work, you're taking work from us that some of our labor brothers and sisters can be doing and giving it to these students. And I was like, but wait, there's got to be a way that we can all work together like a big family, you know? I mean, like these students one day are going to maybe join this union. I mean, it will be wonderful. Maybe we have half of union and they're like the elder kind of, you know, and we have young people do it. And I left DWP and this could never solidify. So I want you to remember also that as much as I have supported labor, and some of you know from many of the other policies, not just on renewable, but on energy efficiency, like other stuff that I have really stuck out my neck for labor, sometimes these dynamics and the way they are, it doesn't really favor the common sense. Yeah. Which is like, can I get my 100 students of color that really want to gain experience and learn and be excited and participate in our utility and go door to door and tell people that we have a program that they can join?
So thank you. That's huge, and we do need to talk about labor. Dan, you're on my list.
So I just want to mention the follow-up that is that we do have a very robust process with labor that we negotiate all the time. And we do have students come on every summer to work for us, and that we have reach out to IUSD to have more high school students come on to work for us because they're disadvantaged. And those are all the programs we already have. I think what Laura was mentioning is maybe a very small group of students at one time that come to us. They have to go through the same process. Yeah. We do have a process for that. We have lots of students working for us, and in fact,
we repainted your fire hydrants with your opinion. So it can work.
It can work. It can.
It's a question as to.
I don't want to give the fire, and that's a regulatory requirement. I mean, the fire hydrants are very. I mean, just for painting stuff like that. I mean, those are all very.
You see why you're not.
Well, I think the conversation, and again, this is like typical every day. It's not the fire hydrant. It's that people want to help. And there's so many bureaucracies happening all at once. And it's not just people helping. It's with solar. It's with solar for renters. It's with like all of these other stuff that sometimes I understood as a commissioner that bureaucracy is necessary, but sometimes it really hinders the process or it really hinders the participation. And when you want to have a robust community engagement and elevate trust in government, I mean, it has to be very intentional.
So let me go back to Rhonda's question. Yeah. Well, I would like, Louis, and then if you and anybody else wants to respond. But you have actually asked a much more focused question than Louis was answering, to be fair. What are you folks doing? What can you do? What should you be doing? I don't know. Like, what's happening now?
Right.
Yeah.
So with all the companies out there installing solar, including Sun, they're number one. So there's a lot of outreach already. Now, as far as the 100 students, a Harvard student wants to go out, might want to do this. Maybe they can represent NCS. Maybe they can volunteer and ask a representative of some organization that's not tied to water power. Again, that doesn't have to be tied to water and power, because again, we want someone to come here and put solar panels as much as I want it to. But at the end of the day, if the entity, the customer, whoever doesn't understand what solar is, that's what the education part is. We can provide education. We have a great communications and marketing team that can provide education. We do go out to events. We educate all the time. But at the end of the day, if our customers, just like myself, we have a 40-hour week job, and on weekends we have to take the kids out. When does electricity become part of their life? How far is a priority on my phone call? So that's exactly what we need to make our customer understand, is that we're all about environmental stewardship. We're all about customer service. We're all about reliability, and last but not least, rates. So those are all the things that we all always prioritize ourselves to make sure that our customers serve right.
So I would think you probably need more partnerships with community-based organizations so that you can kind of close the gap. That's my vote. Okay, Jasmine, and then Nathan. Go ahead.
So Nathan, I don't want to keep us away from this conversation about outreach, but I do want to maybe contextualize a little bit. Your question, Rhonda, to me sounded a lot like, where's CWP now in providing some of this information, access? Like, why hasn't it been getting to more people? Because to your point earlier, you're saying that you don't know if everybody is with us because we're all talking in these kind of spaces where we all agree, but your neighbor or down the street doesn't get it, right? So to that point, Food and Water Wash and our work is about building that connection, and what Aura said is like, it's our utility, so how do we want to manage it? How do we want to be part of it? And to your point, Louis, I've always been working on like what our relationship is with electricity. Ever since I started, I would flip up a switch and say, do y'all know where this energy comes from? And that was my point of introduction for folks, because I would say, most of it comes from coal. Did you know that? A lot of it comes from gas. Did you know that? Like nuclear from Arizona. Did you know that? And so that is my first entrance into how do I start building a relationship with folks and their relationship with energy. But then moving on to like, how do we actually advocate for ourselves, right? And when we do know what's available, how do we advocate for other people to have access to that? That's where I focus most of my time on. And so I can rattle off the list of programs that I know about because I've been doing this work for so long, right? But I know that there's always been, because I talk to people everywhere I go, and I'm an organizer, that there's a disconnect between what DWP is doing for outreach and what needs to be done for outreach.
So how can we help address that?
Okay, so what I'm proposing, what I have in mind, is for the next 9 months, we have an incredibly important process called the 100% Renewable Energy Study. And that's where we want to create that scenario that says a real 100% by 2030 and what that looks like for our community. We already have a technical and scientific report that you can find on Food and Water Watch website made by Synapse Consultants that can actually show you how we can reach 100% renewable energy by 2030 at the same exact capital cost that GWP says it would need for the infrastructure and the plan that they have now by 2030. So look into that. And so to the point that, again, I just want to finish with our view of how GWP is moving this forward. There is no outreach process for that. There is no community meetings. Okay, maybe they will end up going to 6 alliance meetings. We don't think that's enough. So we're going to do 8 community meetings in June and July that are going to first introduce the 100% renewable energy process, but also we are going to bring our partners from LA, Repower LA Coalition, so they can literally sign people up to the home energy improvement program, to the discount low income program, to the shared solar program that's about to be launched on May 17th, and other programs like that they don't know about so that they can actually sign up to, because this is still a paper PDF, people. This is still mailing it in, and this is still being processed by hand by the wonderful IDs that we work with people. So let's make this process more accessible. Let's let people know, because what I read, once you get your 30% energy savings in your home because you did HYPE, or you get your shared solar subscription rate reduction because of the rental program, we make better advocates. We make better educated customers. And then we are able to move those goals to 100% more readily and faster than we think we can do. And which, as I said, I believe we can do.
And Jasmine, thank you for thank you for that advertisement on energy efficiency program. There's a lot more to it than what she just said too. So everything is on our website. I get that. Some people say, oh, website's not the most friendly, but everything is on there as far as the incentives and all the rebate programs we have. What we also need to focus on, besides the outreach portion, is that our processes are getting so much improved as far as the shared solar program. It's going to be all online, number one.
That's because we did that.
Well, I appreciate that. So the paperwork and so like that, we're very cognizant of our customer base because 40% of our customers are on some type of rate programs. And I appreciate your comment about some of the folks don't have computers. We still have to be cognizant of our customer base that are non-computers, and we still need to process the paperwork. It's not that we like to. It's more of the fact that we've got to cover our customer service.
Okay.
Rhonda, I'm sorry, I'm gonna.
Hold on a second. I just have to say, I agree with you, Luis, and as someone that served this city as a commissioner for DWP, and as someone that saw it unfold inside of DWP and as an advocate, I think that the idea that you guys have about outreach is very different than the idea that the community wants to see. So for me, a big focus when I was a commissioner was that I wanted DWP to be more customer-centric, that serve people, that we were there to serve them, and I think that a lot of us have that attitude. I mean, we all know that we but I think overall there is this kind of like sentiment or it's portrayed because it's an institution that and it's the only one that none of us here can say, you know what, forget it. Like, I don't like DWP, I'm gonna go